This is a very special episode.
Very special.
Very special. My Hero Academia Season 4 is premiering in just a few days.
It's only a few days away.
3 days. So we're sitting here today on a Wednesday night recording this. And me and Feds are pretty excited to get back to these new episodes. Especially being
I'm souped.
We're those anime-only basic weebs who don't read the manga. So
Yep.
we're not all up to date on the crazy stuff going on in the comic, although I have unfortunately had a few things spoiled for me.
Not me, thank God.
Yeah, and I won't spoil them for you, but if I could bleach things from my eyes and my brain, if I could eternal sunshine some shit out of my brain, it might be the things that I learned about the manga spoilers. We're not going to be talking about manga stuff today. We are going to be talking about something that I think is a little bit obvious in terms of the comparison of the two characters. My favorite character in My Hero Academia, obviously everybody loves Deku, Bakugo. I'm a little girl inside and love Todoroki as well. Also, Achako is best girl, I think we can all safely say.
Yep.
Followed closely by Yayorozu. That being said, I think I can say definitely of all the characters in of all the characters in this show, All Might.
All my fucking rules.
All Might is my favorite character, bar none. Obviously, number one hero. He's the strongest hero, but he's also my favorite character for a lot of reasons that we're going to get into today. But the obvious comparison that All Might draws in terms of, other characters that he's, I don't want to say derivative. That has like a negative connotation to it. But other people that he is
Inspired?
Inspired or influenced by. Obvious comparison is fucking Superman.
Yeah, man.
Big blue Boy Scout himself. The pillar of justice. The man who's always there, always overcomes, always will beat the bad guy, and is always going to be there to keep your mind at ease, whether that be your mind or like society at large in general, Obvious comparison there is definitely All Might, but there's something that I drew to All Might that I think maybe kind of helped me get hooked on him a little bit more. Obviously, you guys know this podcast is called Dragon Ball Super Dope. I initially, when I first watched My Hero Academia, I saw a lot of Goku in All Might. And I don't think that that's necessarily everybody's first thought when it comes to that character. I think Superman is such the overwhelming influence that you can't help but say this is Japanese Superman. The thing is, for me, Japanese Superman before Japanese Superman was Japanese Superman, and Japanese Superman's name was Goku.
You just said Japanese Superman like 8 times.
You know what? And I think if you go back, if you rewind that tape a little bit, I'm pretty sure the sentence that I said with Japanese Goku, Japanese. I'm pretty sure the thing that I said with Japanese Superman 4 times in a row, I'm pretty sure the sentence makes sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did.
Pretty sure the sentence makes sense.
Boom.
So you guys know that I know Goku really well, obviously. I run a GD Dragon Ball podcast. And I got a hard on for All Might. Now.
All Might.
All Might. So, I sounded like I'm Italian. It's All Might. That wasn't Italian. Feds. You probably know this, but the audience at large, they may not. I'm sure that I've said it a couple of times, and maybe you guys thought that I was joking, but true story. My connection to Superman on a personal level is that my name was almost Cal.
Oh, shit.
Not like Southern pronunciation of the name Kyle, but Cal.
Shut up, Cal.
Yeah, not that.
Yeah, I know.
It was almost K-A-L. Cal. I don't know if my dad was serious about the L. I don't know. But he was pushing hard for Cal. And he told my mom why. Mind you, I was born. My mom turned 17 just a few weeks after I was born. So my mom's like 16 when I'm born, almost 17. My dad just turned 18. Homeboy's a nerd, plays D&D, plays bass in a metal band, reads comic books. What else? All sorts of nerdy shit. he wants to name his son Kal after Superman's Kryptonian name Kal-El. I always thought that was a joke growing up until my grandmother, around the time I was like 6 or 7, was like, "Yeah, no, he pushed hard for that." She's like, "But I got your mother to agree. It's a Kyle, Kyle." And that was the compromise that my mom and my grandmother reached on the ridiculous name that my dad proposed. So I was literally real close to being named Cal. I think it's fitting now that I have an Asian cousin from the state of Georgia with a southern accent who calls me Cousin Cal, because I was almost Cal.
Cousin Cal.
Shout out Ambrose. 17, man. Anyway, obviously my dad to want to name his fucking son Cal, obviously he's tied very close to the Superman. My dad lost his dad when he was 12. Superman as a role model filled the void for my dad a lot, and like his moral upbringing, I think, and just helped like shape who he was as a person in terms of the morals that Superman as a character instills or aims to instill in its audience. Now, all of that's super admirable, and that's something that I can respect and see from afar, but as far as a character, Superman never did that for me. He was just the big super dude that nobody could beat.
Right.
He's the strongest motherfucker. He got laser beam eyes.
Laser beam eyes.
He'll punch your dick off your dick into space.
Never to be seen again.
For real. Like, Superman's that dude. To me, anyway, he's been so long in the general canon of, you know, whatever you got going on in your pop culture brain. Everyone knows Superman. He's been around for the fucking better part of 90 years at this. What is it? 1939, 1938. So, yeah, 75, 80 years, we'll say.
Yep.
Everyone is familiar with Superman, his origin, his powers, his borderline invulnerability. It's kind of no wonder that at a certain point he became this real stale-ish kind of character where everyone's like, yeah, he's boring. He's a good guy. Yeah, he's so good. We get it. I honestly think the way that Chris Evans played Captain America in the MCU was very reminiscent of the way Christopher Reeves was the way in which was very reminiscent in which the way Christopher Reeves played Superman in the first. I mean, I want to say 2 movies, but there's 4 of them. I really like the first 2 Superman Richard Donner movies, but my point is the earnestness and the sincerity and the commitment to, like, you know, for lack of more details, truth, justice, in the American way, just doing the right thing and always fucking, you know, helping the downtrodden and all that. Chris Evans encapsulates everything that Christopher Reeve put into that character.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If you follow us on Instagram at DBSuperdope, yeah, I think that's it, just at DBSuperdope, you'll see that I put up a little teaser image for today's episode. All Might, Goku in the middle in his dope-ass End of Z blue gi, because that's personally my favorite outfit, because that outfit rules. And then Christopher Reeve Superman over to the right, because in my brain, Christopher Reeve is Superman. Like,
yeah, me too.
When in close second, if you heard it on the Patreon cut earlier, forgive me, but Bruce Timm Superman animated series style as the second Superman. But Christopher Reeve very much encapsulates everything that Superman, I think, is supposed to be, and I think that most people don't really appreciate about the character and just kind of stack him up to be this boring, stale kind of thing. So you think about something like that. What struck a chord with me as a 5-6-year-old kid, whenever I started to become conscious of these characters, and just TV and like TV shows and fucking changing the channel and shit like that, I found Dragon Ball super young, man. It resonated immediately. I don't know why. My dad will tell you it's because that he had the Cell games on and a sub thing when I was like a 2-year-old baby, but I think that's a bunch of horse shit personally. Whatever, I digress. Goku resonated with me. Unbeknownst to me at the time, and I'd figure it out, you know, in watching more Dragon Ball throughout the years and kind of piecing together what I initially saw then, a very early episode of Dragon Ball, I think episode like 13 of the original series or something like that. Piecing that together with what eventually would come over to the States in Dragon Ball Z, and the realization that Goku is from another planet and his brother shows up and he kidnaps his kid, and how Dragon Ball Z kicks off into this big, grand sci-fi space opera kung fu style. I realized that Goku is basically the Japanese equivalent of Superman. the most direct comparison is how they show up, right? Last of their race. They out from outside space.
The aliens.
They are the last of their kind, quote unquote, last of their kind. Supposed to be the last son of Krypton, the last son of planet Vegeta. Except there's like a bunch of other weird Saiyans around, and sometimes other Kryptonians show up. It's neither here nor there. They both come to Earth. They land. They're adopted by the culture. They've adopted the planet. The planet adopts them. Vice versa. They very much are defenders of the planet or whatever. In a lot of ways, that origin story is beat for beat almost. Yep. Especially when you consider how they rewritten parts of Dragon Ball Minus, and again in Dragon Ball Super Broly, to have Bardock be like, "Oh, we got to get him out of here." Like all, it's just they almost rewrote it to be more like Superman in the last couple of years. It's kind of fucking funny. Goku though, he gets to Earth. We don't know when he's a child. If you look at the Dragon Ball story linearly, we don't know when he shows up and you see him in the woods chopping up wood with karate chops and shit. You don't know if he's an alien. You don't learn that in terms of the story for another 5 years, in terms of a week-to-week comic book, in terms of like time passing in Goku's life. It's something like, shit, it might actually be like 5 or 6 years. No, because it's 5 or 6 years between the beginning of Dragon Ball, end of Dragon Ball, and then there's what, a 5-year gap between the end of Dragon Ball and the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, so shit, by the time that motherfucker learns he's an alien, like 10 years have passed. We've already gotten to know this character. We've already gotten to see overcome his trials and tribulations and go through his kung fu training through multiple masters and fuck up an entire army and fuck up a bunch of like old school horror monsters and then go fuck up the Demon King Piccolo and then fuck him up again in his reincarnate, younger, more youthful form, and a dude with 3 eyes who's kind of maybe disfigured but also maybe has secret powers because of the third eye. We saw Goku go through a lot of shit. We can appreciate all of the strength that he gains. Superman, when you see that motherfucker, he's already top of the pops, man.
Yep.
To reiterate a phrase I used earlier, he'll punch your dick off your dick. Goku, though, you got to see him take the lumps to do it. And that's not to say you don't see Superman go through his growing pains. I mean, they do have those flashbacks where you see him growing up in Kansas with Smallville and Mom Pa Kent and all that stuff, and overcoming the fact that he's got to deal with these powers while that's basically the entire premise of Smallville, and they got 10 seasons, I think, out of that motherfucker. And those are all based off of, comic flashbacks that are trying to fill in what this backstory looked like. So you do get to appreciate parts of it with Superman, but like, you don't get to fully oversee him progress through that and overcome from like the beginning of day one through current day Superman. Goku, we have that kind of satisfaction. And I would now make the argument that up to the end of Dragon Ball Z, you could say that Goku and the Superman comparison are very much intact. Although, the end of Dragon Ball Z, shit starts getting a little bit more goofy. Like, goofy, reminiscent in a way of early Dragon Ball, and that lots of jokes, lots of fat things, lots of failed things, lots of mystical things, magic things. It's not all about, like, I'm going to blow up a planet and scream and punch you in the dick, punch your dick off your dick. It's not all about that. It just gets a little bit goofier toward the end of Dragon Ball Z. But like the end of Dragon Ball Z wraps up and culminates Goku's power on this universal godly, borderline godly kind of level, much in the wake of Superman. And when that shit went off the air in Japan in 97 or whatever, I think people were like, yeah, Goku's dope. Goku's cool. Goku's a hero. Goku's a great protagonist. Flash forward 18 years later when Goku and Co come back to TV weekly, everyone, I feel at least, I don't know if Goku had this sort of level of hate. I mean, I know that the idea that Goku is a shitty father is a consistent joke. I'm going to thank my friends at Team 4-Star for making that borderline meme before memes were memes, even though memes was already an idea, but not an actual thing that people shared on the internet. But what I will say is that Goku is kind of a hero, at least through the majority of Dragon Ball Z. You could also make the argument that the time he spends dead in Dragon Ball Z is some of the most compelling time that he has as a character in the series as a secondary character. And we'll talk more about the Goku, Superman, All Might type serving in that secondary character role when we get over to All Might. But Goku comes back in Dragon Ball Super, and everyone's like, man, this motherfucker's stupid. What's he doing? He's just trying to fight all the strong people in the world just because that's what he's about. He's just wants to get his fight on.
Yeah, man. Want to fight?
Yeah. And they're like, yo, maybe you shouldn't fight that dude, man. If you don't win, we done. He's like, yeah, but
I want to fight him.
he's a god of destruction. Exactly. The name implies it all. He'll destroy us. Yeah, but he's a god. I want to fight him. And like that idea is just strewn throughout Dragon Ball Super so much. I mean, there are moments where he's a legitimate hero, I guess, and he's only a hero because Trunks shows up from the fucking dystopian future where Zamasu fucked things up. And he's like, Dad, Uncle Goku, come save me. Some bullies beat my ass. And then they go to the future and, you know, they get into this thing. Goku's arguably serving in a hero capacity there. Most other places, especially like the Tournament of Power in and of itself is Goku just being a reckless little asshole saying, hey, Zeno, kind of feeling the itch to try to meet some new strong guys that I may not have the opportunity to meet otherwise. Want to have a tournament? If we lose, you can just erase us. It's fine. I'll get the urge to fight these strong people out of here. I'll get these people out of here.
Look at all these people out here.
I'm gonna fight these people out here.
All of them.
He's just so much of, and I would say that he kind of devolves to more of what he is. I'll say devolves because, again, in Dragon Ball Z, he very much hits a hero stride, specifically when he's that dude in the Saiyan arc who's showing up to save the day. When he fucking punches Nappa and catches him on his goddamn fist and fucking backbreaks him. He's that dude showing up on Namek and being like, what's up, Captain Ginyu? I'm going to kick you in the throat. Okay, my body got all fucked up in the body switch. I'm going to go heal in this fucking back to chamber again, or whatever the fuck it is. Okay, Frieza, now I'm here to fuck your bitch. Stuff like that. In Cell Saga, he gets a little more hands off, and you get to see a little bit more of that goofiness come off as he realizes that he can slowly start to transfer power over to his son and be like, yeah, maybe the world's cool without me. Gohan can inherit this power. Gohan's the rightful, protector now. Like, my time has passed. And you can see how the series begins to progress and step up to the next generation. They have the 7-year time skip. Gohan is very much the central focus of the show at the beginning. Goku's serving in a ghost capacity. And you see him like maybe once every 4 or 5 episodes. It's kind of weird. It's kind of cool. It's a different kind of Dragon Ball, that early Boo stuff. But when he comes back in Super, it's like, he's back to being a little kid. Just like, what's up? You strong? Want to fucking throw some hands? You want to go, Patsy? Like, he's just walking up to any motherfucker. He don't care. And that's frustrating for fans. I can understand that. Now, we know that Goku's kind of a goofball and shit, but he's kind of Japanese Superman, right? Same exact origin story. Always a dude who overcomes, always steps up and beats the bad dude in the end of it. As long as you know Goku's around, everything's going to be dope, right? We already got a Japanese Superman, so what the fuck we need with another Japanese Superman? Enter All Might, a.k.a. Japanese Superman. So, I don't know, man. Honestly, the reason I wanted to do this today, and I think I said it at the top, if I didn't, I definitely meant to, but I don't feel like I've fully appreciated a character like Superman until I found a character like All Might. And I think maybe it has to do with the medium in which the characters live. I mean, obviously, anime, manga, however you want to look at it, is one thing, but it's in Japan. Superman, Western culture, continuous stories being written about him for, like we said, 80 years. Superman's never going to not be written about.
Right.
As where in a manga, I don't know why I'm saying manga so much today. Usually I try to go the pretentious route and say manga, but you know what? I don't give a fuck today. Typically, in the manga, you've got like a very linear, structural beginning, middle, and end of a story. All of these characters are serving a purpose. Typically, a manga is not set up to be able to go on for forever. You could stretch them out for 20 plus years with like you do with One Piece, but typically the roles that a character serve, you get to see them play out in their entirety, and they're not meant to go on for forever with some kind of ambiguity on whether they go one way or another, or Well, one thing Superman's done is they've just taken straight up alternate realities altogether, and they've done evil Superman, or they've done, what if Superman, Red Sun landed in Russia, all that stuff. With All Might, you know that he's Superman pretty much right off the bat. He's the most popular number one hero, most popular. He's merchandised the shit out of. You see posters and toys of him everywhere, all over the My Hero world. But when you meet him as the audience, you meet him in that kind of like removed fashion, like him in the public eye fashion. When you first see him like interacting and you actually see him as a character, you're not seeing that previous All Might. You're seeing Small Might. You're seeing Skeletor looking motherfucker. Yeah, whatever, 3 years post the fight with All for One. That right there is an interesting place to start with the character. You've already let us all know he's the number one dude and he's this big hulking massive a man that nobody can beat. And then when you're like, hey, this is actually him, let's pick up with where he is right now and not what he's portrayed to be in the media. He's a scrawny little dude who's coughing up blood trying to walk home with his groceries. That right there, that contrast of two different images there in a world, I think I said it earlier, I don't know if I said it for Patreon or for you or what, but in the world where heroes are public figures and they're paid by the government and everyone knows who everyone is more or less, All Might is at the top of that. Like his name may as well be up in fucking lights in the goddamn marquee in Vegas.
Yep.
Everybody knows who All Might is. Except they don't. Like that secret identity trope is still worked into All Might's whole being without it being a true, it's not a secret identity. It's like a true form, So building that kind of tension into this guy who right off the bat is billed as this central pillar of peace, the reason that peace, crime fell to 6% in the country of Japan because All Might is such a prolific fucking hero. Knowing right off the bat that it's kind of all a facade and that at any moment it could come tumbling down. The tension that builds for you, not only does it automatically make you kind of care for All Might a little bit more, I think anyway. He's kind of a dick in that first episode, but
yeah, kind of.
He's just like, hey, what's up, fanboy? I don't give a fuck about you.
Right.
Let go of my leg. I'm gonna have to clean these pants again. I'm trying to fly, boy. Get the fuck out. I think it helps you empathize with him a little bit more. He becomes not somebody who is so untouchable, whatever.
Right.
It helps you empathize with him a lot more and knowing that he's eternally in pain and coughing up blood and just not who he used to be. He doesn't feel like the person that he is. So when you take that and then you pair that against moments where first one you see is when he beats the fuck out of the sludge villain and he rescues Bakugo. You see it again. Deku, rather. You see it again at the USJ.
Yep.
When he beats the fuck out of the Nomu with 300 mighty blows. When it would have taken him like 5 or 6, whatever, back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in his prime time, his prime form.
Yeah.
You still see him rise to the occasion and overcome. And even you as the audience, you're like, yo, there really is nothing that this dude can't do. Everything is fine if All Might's around. You fall into that same sense of security that the rest of the world falls into. Yep. The only other person who's like aware of it, obviously, is Deku. And he's constantly wary of it. He's like, oh no, don't use your muscles too long, AM. Sometimes when I take notes, I just write AM. Yeah, because writing out All Might every motherfucking time when you write All Might on 3 pages of notes, which I haven't really used so far. I've been kind of going off book. So seeing All Might, even though he's got this superb amount of strength, he still has to overcome these things, hide his true form, whatever. You see him go through that final fight with All for One. And he goes back up into that flex form one more time when he holds his hand up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he points out and he says, you're next. Nobody knows, obviously, what you're next actually means except Deku or Midoriya. Yeah, except Midoriya. So while you can sympathize definitely a little bit more, or at least relate a little bit more, knowing that All Might has, this secret that he's hiding, he can only keep his muscle form at the first, for 3 hours or whatever. And that every time he uses his power, it's fleeting. Like, it's going away. Right. So there's a definitive timeline already in play the moment you meet this character that his end is already in sight. And
Yep.
you're along for this last piece of his superhero career before he has to retire. Now, you factor that in with the whole, he's also transitioning into becoming a teacher at UA.
Yep.
And he obviously needs to find somebody to pass on One for All to. And needs to find the next protege and train them. And you figure if he has to be the guy who's going to be responsible to pass on the power of One for All to the ninth holder, he has to take it pretty seriously. So you see him holding true to like the virtues of the things that his master taught him.
Yep.
I got my Shigaraki Pop. Speaking of his master,
Yeah, it's dope.
the grandson just came in Funko Pop for him in the mail today. It does look pretty dope.
Yeah.
I didn't think I bought it. I also got
Then it showed up.
then it showed up. I also got.
I bought that.
Yeah, that's exactly. Crystal hands me a box when she walks in today. She's like, "Hey, you had this?" I'm like,
All right.
"Okay." Open it up. I'm like, "Oh, I was feeling sad that I didn't buy this the other day, but I guess I did."
Oh man, that would have been something.
Dope, super dope. I did get my Goku and Vegeta baseball pops up there though.
That's dope.
Yeah, one's a pitcher, one's a catcher.
Aw.
One's a pitcher, one's a batter, I think. Those are pretty cool too. Episode
Yeah.
60, episode 70, episode 69 of Dragon Ball Super. It's a classic, baby. I didn't mean that in a 69 joke way. I meant that, and it's a quality episode way. But also, open your books to page 69. Obviously, All Might has really good intentions in mind. That kind of serve true to that general hero virtue and just always overcoming, always pushing your limits. Literally the embodiment of the phrase plus ultra, go beyond plus ultra.
Go plus ultra.
All Might is now moving into more of a mentor role, I
Yep.
guess you could say. I like to call him Dad Might because he cares for Deku like the son that he's never had, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really interesting position to see him in now, which I don't think a character like Superman or maybe even Goku in a lot of ways. I mean, Goku kind of had the afforded opportunity to him when he becomes dead Goku for 7 years and he stays in the afterworld and he kind of serves as like, at least in the capacity of some of the movies and very early Boo stuff, like he's the other guy in fucking Land of the Dead, man. Like, yeah, you got questions for Goku, you can talk with him, but he ain't coming back to fight your battles anymore. Same kind of idea here with All Might. Like, you can still, call on him for his sage wisdom on being a hero in general, but
He ain't gonna save you no more.
he doesn't have the power to save you no mo. Superman, I don't think, outside of taking him out of the equation with like literally killing him
Yep.
or making him evil, which they've also done with Goku as well, made him evil a couple times over. Unless you want to, Turles really is an evil Goku, but Goku Black is very literally an evil Goku. Either way, Superman's not typically afforded that kind of opportunity to step out from like his powered capacity and operate in a depowered capacity. Typically, if you take Superman out of it, it's because he got shut down by some kryptonite, or he got shut down by some magic, or he's dead right now. I don't know, and I don't actually put myself out there to be a Superman expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure that there are examples in the 80 years of stories, but I can't think of any cool stories where Superman is involved directly, but it's not because of anything he's doing with his powers, or maybe he doesn't have his powers at his access or whatever. All Might works in that capacity. Goku's works in that capacity. Superman, when he shows up, I just feel like, again, to quote the old fucking saying, he just punches your dick off your dick.
Yeah, man.
Goku is afforded that capacity a little bit, and then they bring him back to save the day because they realize that Gohan wasn't a very popular character. All Might's going through that right now and training Midoriya as this next person, the ninth holder of One for All. And I think, honestly, being able to see him go from when you first meet him, he's top of the charts, and everything that we've seen ever since with All Might, in terms of his power, in terms of his ranking, in terms of his ability, in terms of his ability to defuse a situation or save the day, everything we've seen since episode 1, it's just been on the steady fucking decline. And season 3, after the battle with One for All, or All for One, I fuck them all up.
All for one.
After the battle with All for One, he's retired. He's done. There's no more one for all power left for him to use. And Deku is next. Still get to see him. Honestly, the only other place I could see him going is, and again, I don't know that this is a manga spoiler. I hope that it's not. I don't know that it is. I think the only other place All Might can go as a character from the point that he is now, unfortunately, is dead. That's the next step. He's going to serve in this mentor capacity while he can. He's not going to be around forever. As I said earlier, there have been a few things in the manga that's been spoiled for me. I don't know if that's something that happens. That's not one of the things, thankfully. I won't say the things that have been spoiled for me, but it's interesting because Dragon Ball Super now, the manga is ahead of where the anime will be when the anime comes back. Much truer to form of the old Dragon Ball Z comic. My Hero, manga comes out, anime comes out about a year later. So there's a healthy chunk of people, probably 50%, if not more, especially the hardcore My Hero kids, who they already know what's going to happen. Like, the anime adaptation of My Hero is, from what I understand, really faithful. There's really not too much extra shit, and if there is some extra shit, they're very upfront about being like, this is some extra shit. That's not an original story. Dragon Ball will be in that same boat when it comes back, when it comes back. Not if, when. We just don't know when. It's obviously not July of 2019. I don't want to read My Hero because I want the thrill of reading it week to week or watching the episodes week to week.
Yep.
Here's the thing. I can't not read Dragon Ball. You know me.
Yeah, I know. You're obsessed, man.
I'm not obsessed. Obsessed is a stupid word.
No, you're right.
It's just me.
You're just...
It's not like I'm gonna go fucking wait outside Sean Schemmel's fucking apartment and jerk off into a tissue because I'm obsessed, a weirdo or some shit like that. It's like, dude, this has been my thing since I was like 5 years old. And I don't have many things, but this thing is one of those things. And I love it, and I'm usually loyal to the things that I love. But I say all that to say, if a new Dragon Ball chapter comes out, I'm reading that shit fucking immediately. I need to know what's next in the story. So when the anime comes back, the whole time I'm going to be like, well, they didn't do that in the manga. Well, that's different. That's strange. That's a weird place to put filler. Why are we filling this shit out? With My Hero, I don't read the source material, and I willingly have made the decision not to read it. I'm kind of curious to see, because we're going to be doing week to week My Hero stuff. Now that we've done almost all, well, we didn't do, we could still go back and do season 3 for the Patreons, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, because we finished season 2, but I don't know, whatever. There's like 20 volumes, whatever, and I think it's like the first 40 episodes or 38 episodes of the series on Patreon. But we can go back and do season 3. But with season 4, we're going to be doing the episodes week to week. I'll do them myself. You'll come over. I don't give a fuck. Dan will come over. I'll fucking, again, do them by myself. I will find people on the internet who want to talk about them. Maybe. I'm excited to be doing that. When Dragon Ball comes back, hopefully in early 2020, I was really pulling for a January 2020 announcement, meaning it would come back in 2020. I was hoping that we would have heard about it by now. If we don't hear about it in the next 4 to 5 weeks, I'm pulling the plug on that. I'm hoping by Thanksgiving we've heard about it. I hope that's what happens. I don't know. We'll see. But when Dragon Ball comes back, it'll be interesting for me to, be that guy who's read the manga on one show and then be like somebody who's completely ignorant, or for the most part ignorant, to the manga for My Hero Academia. But this was all basically a long way to say we're super psyched for season 4. All Might is Japanese Superman, aka Goku 2.0, who was already Japanese Superman. off of Superman's American Superman, who's American. Also, he's Superman.
But I like All Might way more than the other two guys.
Yeah, All Might's way fucking cooler than us.
Definitely cooler than us.
I don't know that he's cooler than Goku.
To me, he is.
No,
I'm not
actually,
really.
Nah, I take it back. Goku's a fucking weirdo hick from the. I can put aside my sentimentality. I can do it. Goku is a weird backwoods hick who really doesn't have the social skills. All Might is a man of culture. He's a man of class. And let's be real, man. Watashi ga kata. Like, he is here to save your day and fuck your bitch and smile all the way through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's basically just Superman 2.0. So do we stop calling All Might Japanese Superman? Do we just call him Superman 2.0 now?
No, I think we just call him All Might because there is. I mean, the comparison is there, but
Yeah.
it's not really Superman.
He's Toshinori Yagi, and he has helped me fully appreciate the need for a beacon of hope in a world of shit and darkness and badness. So long as you got a dude like All Might to look up to who can tell you, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. I'm here to help you get through this. Those are things that help the world in general. And I think that Superman has kind of lost that ability, or at least lost that identification to his character in some respects, because in so much recent media, he's, fucking Zack Snyderverse, he's portrayed as this God complex, dark tone. I'm all alone in the world kind of dude. The thing that I love most about Superman was he's like, yeah, I am different, but I'm really not. I'm just like you. And so much of him growing up was like, yeah, but whatever, Mom and Pa. They might not understand. It's fine. I'll just keep it a secret. I'm like everyone else. He just wanted to be like everyone else. Just wants to help everyone else.
He just wanted to be a real boy.
I mean, he's not Pinocchio, but I understand the sentiments you're trying to express. Toshinori Yagi, a.k.a. All Might. I don't know why I'm calling him by his fucking proper name now, but Toshinori Yagi is his proper name.
Yes.
He obviously goes into the pro hero profession with an admirable will. We all know that he was born without a quirk, and that adds to the nobility and the admirability of his origin story. He inherited this quirk and wasn't afforded this great power by chance, like Superman was. He worked for it. He proved that he was worthy of it. We get to see him at least through way of flashback, kind of come through his own in broad chunks and broad strokes. And now we're at the end of the journey with him, and we get to see him try to, pass that on and to Deku. He's not the focus of the series, but he is a tremendous foil and a great plot-telling device, for Goku, for Deku's story to be able to unfold on his quest to become the world's greatest hero. So, yeah, I feel like he's probably the most effective use of the archetype that we've discussed tonight. I don't think any of it's Superman's fault. I think that time has just not been time in the world,
right?
The world's outlook on those ideals and morals and virtues that Superman stands for. I don't know if the world is particularly kind to that outlook these days, and that's maybe why he's not as popular a character, as we're an anime version of it and an over the top, super smiley, borderline ridiculous, slapstick.
Borderline ridiculous.
Yeah, he is and I don't mean in terms of strength. That doesn't mean like in terms of personality.
Yeah, me too.
I think that resonates a little bit more. And then when you have that emotional layer underneath, where like his end's very much in the end of his life, or his time as a hero is very much in sight, and you're there along for the ride with him. I think that's why All Might wins the Superman versus Goku versus All Might misleading title that I probably named this podcast. Wasn't a fight of physical strength, boys and girls. No, because obviously
Goku.
I imagine Goku, but I mean, there's been a lot of debate on that. I don't care enough to think about that, because honestly, I know what would happen if Goku and Superman fucking met up. Same thing. All Might's fucking there too. Ready? They're like, you're pretty cool. Want to be friends? All right, cool. Let's be friends. The end. They don't fight. They don't fight. Straight up. Those two dudes meet, and there's no way they fight unless Goku or Superman is brainwashed or something. No extenuating bullshit circumstances like that. They meet up straight up, 100, full clear, full eyes, full hearts, full clear eyes. Can't lose. Don't lose, because they are France.
They friends. And they get the whole universe unlocked.
Got the whole universe on lock. Got All Might on our team. And Goku's team captain. And Superman's captain too.
Yeah.
Get hype for My Hero Academia Season 4.
Dude, I'm pumped.
Dropping on Saturday. What's the date? The 12th?
Yep.
October the 12th. And then we'll be recording something at some point this weekend. I'm not sure what. Are you around Sunday, maybe? No, you're not. It's going to be me fucking jerking off into a microphone about how cool it was. So make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you rate, subscribe, Apple Podcasts.
Say your fucking calendars, people.
Yeah, say your calendars and say your prayers. And brush your teeth. Your breath stinks. Rate, subscribe, Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all the places where the podcasts live. Instagram at DBSuperDope, Twitter at DBSuperDope1, just the number 1.
Not the word.
Yeah, not the word, because that'd be dumb. Also, we don't have Facebook anymore. Fuck you, Nazis. Thank you for taking our page down again. Immediately, within 2 weeks of me sending out invites.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. So I think Facebook is maybe not for us anymore unless we do a hard rebrand of the pod, which I don't know if we will be doing. Maybe we will. Who knows? Maybe some point on the line, but fuck Facebook for now. Yeah, that's it. This has been a backdoor Rhode Island Comic-Con panel test, I guess. I don't really know how this is going to shake out in terms of editing. But I appreciate you guys listening. And yeah, we'll talk with you next time. I don't really know how to end this show. What's up, my feds, my friend? Bam, bam, bam.